Welcome back to Between the Levees. Mr. Zack Doss joins me on the show today. He is a Tankerman Steersman now for Buffalo Marine in the Houston, Texas area. He reached out to me when I put a call out to some folks in a Facebook group. If anybody wanted to discuss the events that had transpired, a deckhand had jumped off a boat. Uh, I don't know many details beyond that, but the body was found a few days later. Zack had some personal stories to discuss in relation to that incident, and that's what we're going to get into this afternoon. Zack, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, real quick, I guess if you want to give a brief rundown on your career, how it's developed, and then get into the night when the news came out that the deckhand had jumped off the boat. Were you working that evening?
Yes, sir. I was working that evening. But go back on my background. I started off at Marquette, uh, doing line haul, six packs, fleet work, and I did a little bit in the river division, doing 30 to 40 barges. And after that, my dad had retired and everything, and I decided, well, I don't want to do line haul no more. I want to go get my Tankerman ticket. So I left Marquette because they didn't really have a good Tankerman program and it wasn't open at the time. So I went to LaBeouf Brothers, stayed there, got my Tankerman ticket, and COVID hit. And there was rumors about layoffs and stuff, and that weren't true, but I fell for it. It was my first go around with layoffs early on in my career. And I fell for the bait and left, went to Florida Marine, just didn't mesh well over there. I think it was just the boats I was on. Nothing bad about them. And I left and went to Blessy. Stayed at Blessy for a while, and then ended up going to Central Boat Rentals when they offered to pay for my steersman class. Went there, got into it with a captain, and just decided to leave there. Went to Campbell, and incidents happened that we're going to discuss later on the reason why I ended up having to leave Campbell. Went back to Central, and now I'm currently at Buffalo.
So how many years total now?
About seven, sir.
All right. Well, you mentioned you had some stories, so if you want to get into that, of course, touch on the incident that and what you know of it there in Port Arthur.
So the boat that claimed that the deckhand jumped off was a boat that claimed it, and I was tied up beside him in Bean's Fleet. And they said the deckhand was having marital issues, which I can very much well connect with that, and that's why he jumped off, is what they said. Other than that, I don't know any details. It was all hearsay from the boat. But my little thing with the where it hit home when he said marital issues is I was working at Campbell, and day I got my steersman license, the day I got it in, my mother of my kids, been with her for 6 years at that point, tells me I'm done. Like, no, we'll discuss this when we get home. Well, I come home and it's Christmas Day. I catch another man in my house. And I lost it. I lost complete control. Uh, Gun got involved, and I ended up going to jail. Stayed there for a few weeks and got out. And currently on probation due to the incident, but it caused a lot of depression. Uh, During the whole time I was on the boat, after she told me that, leading up to me actually going home, it affected my work greatly. I was screaming, yelling on the phone at her, calling it. At one point, I wanted to jump over and just go back and just end it all. I had suicidal thoughts for the first time in my life, anxiety for the first time in my life, and it's just a very hard time. And it ended up causing me to go to jail for the first time since I was young. Well, first time I was in the back of the cop car since I was young, and first time I've been to jail. And it just went down a very dark path. The only thing that really saved me was court ordered therapy, and it helped. I found confided in one of my friends I made out here that works at LaBeouf, and He helped me get through it. I had to lean on my friends I've actually made out here and lean on my family and just think about the two kids we had together and just keep pushing forward, still dealing with that aftermath of it all and just getting better each and every day. But it still causes me to have flashbacks a year and a half later, almost 2 years.
Well, tell me about life living out there on the boats. Of course, it's tough on the home life for sure, especially in your case. But I guess fill me in on what work life is for you.
I One of the reasons why she ended up doing everything to me that she did was because she said I was never home. She said I was working a 28-14 schedule, but I had became obsessed with getting my license and moving up the pilot. Still kind of am obsessed with becoming one. Been a life goal of mine. Wanted to be the first one in my family, and it kind of put a back burner on the home life and everything. And I ended up riding over a lot, causing strain on the relationship. And where we were running, I lost service all the time, running through Matagorda Bay, San Antonio, and Aransas, running down to Corpus and Brownsville. I lost service a lot, especially since I have T-Mobile. Lose a lot of service. Not the best carrier to have. And I would go days and weeks without talking to my old lady and kids. And it does put a big strain on relationships. You got family who it's like, haven't heard from you a while. Are you alive? Because I'll go days, weeks without talking to anybody on the other side of the levee. It puts a big strain on relationships, and it's not for people who are not mentally tough. You have to be very mentally tough to work this job. Your significant others in your family have to be mentally tough to endure. If your kids aren't born into this, it's kind of hard for your kids to accept it because it's one day you're here all the time, now you're gone for a month. And it can be extremely stressful on both cases. Then you got a wife, everything falls on your wife that you normally would do when you're home. She's got to mow the lawn. She's got to call the repairman or make the repairs herself. She has to handle the bills if you have no service. She's basically the mother and the father at that point till you come home. Then when you do come home, yes, you are home. But that first 48 hours, in my case, I just want to relax and do nothing, unwind. And our families do not understand how it is out here for us unless they worked out here. And there's no way we can convey it or make them understand just how dangerous and just how mentally stressful it is for us out here. But it's stressful on them in a totally different way, not having us there. So it's not just either or, it's both stressful.
Well, you mentioned your dad retired. Was he in the industry?
Yes, sir. He was a crew boat deckhand and he was also in the Navy. He ended up retiring after a couple of heart attacks and he decided it's time to give it up. He tried to get his 100-ton and go to the wheelhouse and on a crew boat. He did a little bit of line haul with me. That's where I started was with him. He trained me up a good bit and he tried to get his 100-ton and just heart attack after heart attack kept him from getting it. And he just gave up and retired. Now he's a general manager at a Dollar General at 51. He's had three by 51. The industry being so stressful, it caused him to smoke a lot as well. He was a carton a week at the time.
Yeah, smoking got my dad after a good long time. He wasn't in any industry related career, but smoking's not a great thing.
Yeah, I just recently quit myself about 6 months ago.
Good for you. Good for you. Totally quit?
Uh, Totally quit is about 6 weeks ago. I had
Gotcha.
to wean myself off. I completely quit. No vaping, no smoking, no tobacco products about 6 weeks ago.
Good on you, man. Was the industry always your career path?
Actually, no. I actually straight out of high school, I went to college for about a year and a half. I went to Louisiana Tech University, and I was actually going for computers. My biggest problem is I don't like to sit still in the classroom and listen to somebody else talk. And I never showed up to class.
Yeah, that does help in college. Um, well, then tell me about the transition after that year and a half, it was in Ruston?
Yes, sir. I was in Ruston, Louisiana. Uh, really wasn't that bad of a transition. I just applied, got on, and everything. And I always liked working. I always liked making money. I don't like sitting still. Like right now, I even got my leg bouncing because I don't like to sit still. And it just the hardest part about the transition was learning how to use my hands. Finally, I never worked a laborious job before this. I always used my mind to do to make money. First time I used my body, and it was a little bit difficult at first learning how to lay wires. Took me about 6 7 months to actually learn to lay them. But once I got it, I got it.
Right. What was, I guess, one of the more surprising things you saw when you got out there? Had you been on boats at all before then?
The biggest boat I had been on was a little 12-foot John boat before that, or a little pontoon. Uh, did not know anything about the river before coming out here. Uh, knew my dad worked it, but I hadn't known my dad until I was 19. So I just reconnected with him 6 months prior before me getting on the river. So I knew nothing of it. Yeah, I was born and raised in New Orleans, but I ended up living in Shreveport after Hurricane Katrina all the way till I graduated high school in 2016. So I knew nothing about boats and barges. Got on it and it was like, oh, this is nice. This is cool. Then I got to work and said, damn, this shit's hard. But I ended up falling in love with it. Just being out there on the head of the tow, no radio, just waiting on getting into a lock or running down the river or running down the canal is probably the most peaceful place for me where I can actually clear my head the best on a boat. It's become my peace. It's become what keeps me stable. And I fell in love with this industry. I'm passionate about everything in this industry. I love seeing people move up now. I love training people, even though I'm not that great of a trainer.
It's certainly got an interesting draw that I didn't know before I found it. I've been shoreside since what was that, 2015 when I joined
Hmm.
up. Um, so you said you're trying to get your license now?
Yes, sir. I I completely completed my tour and everything in December. I sent off and beginning of January. I think January 5th is the exact date I sent off, and they accepted it January 11th. And just waiting on that license to come in has been very stressful. I ended up going into professional qualifications and now looking at the website and Coast Guard not getting back to me very well. Well, any new information because I've emailed them, I've tried calling them. I've been put back into safety and security vetting, and I don't know why. So my best guess is they uh, figured out what I was originally arrested for, and even though I was not convicted of those original arrests, I was convicted of only misdemeanors. It's causing me to have a longer wait time.
Well, you said you're a steersman as well. How much time at the sticks do you have so far?
I haven't really kept good records of it, but I've been steering way before I even got my went to steersman school. I've been very anxious to get up here and to the wheelhouse and everything. I'd say I got probably I really don't know how much time I really got. There's been hitches where all I did was drive for the entire hitch, and some hitches where I didn't do much driving because we were cross channeling.
Well, this whole thing started about mental health. Do you have any other stories, or I guess any friends, acquaintances you've made over the years that you can discuss the
Yeah,
issues that they have faced?
I've had a couple of friends come to me recently. Around the same time I was going through my stuff, I had a friend who works at ACBL. Now we work together at Blessy, and he was going through the same thing, and he leaned on me. He actually ended up almost killing himself one night that he called me. He had an 8 ball, not an eight. He had a little baggie of fentanyl, and he was just ready to end it all. One night, all over his girl leaving him and taking his daughter. He just didn't want to go on no more. And he's been out in this industry longer than I have been. He's been out 3 years longer than me. And just him leaning on me helped me get through my stuff. And I had another one who lost his child in a miscarriage, late term miscarriage. I think he was in his third trimester when they lost the baby. And he just couldn't perform his job either because he was heartbroken. I've went when the RC Crapel went down, uh, captain I knew had a family member on the boat when the RC Crapel went down. And he hasn't been on a boat since. He just can't do it because he lost a family member going down with that incident. So mental health has become a very, very big topic of lately. More and more people are aware of men's mental health, but mariners' mental health is a little bit more fragile than what people like to admit. We deal with a lot, and we're always told, leave it on the other side of the levee. You're here to work, leave it on the other side of the levee. Because, and essentially they're right. We have to leave it there, otherwise we get each other hurt or killed. But just some things we just can't ignore, like marital issues, loss of a family member or a child. It's just, it sucks. And it not something you can just push away sometimes.
Well, how tough was it, Donna? You said you lose signal a fair amount of times out there in at the end of the canal there that by Brownsville.
Uh, I would get when I lost signal, I would get accused of cheating. Like, oh, you just went and got off the boat and you're cheating. And that played a big hit because I know I'm not cheating. I'm over here making money and she's a stay-at-home mom. And that really hurt me mentally to the point where I was starting to check out of the relationship myself and started riding over even more. I became unhappy to go home. And I went from only riding 28 days to riding 42 days and then riding 70 days. And I think the longest hitch I ended up pulling towards the end was 120 days because I just didn't want to go home. I didn't want to deal with her and put more strain on the relationship because I was not going home more. My kids would be begging me to come home because they missed me, and it tears you to pieces, tears your hearts to pieces.
How old are the kids?
My daughter is 5 years old, and my son turns 4 on the 13th.
How are they doing with all this?
My kids are very well aware of what transpired between me and their mother. Uh, they they under surprisingly at a very young age understands what happened. I've been very honest with them, whether people agree with me about doing it or not, about what happened, why it happened, why I did what I did, that I regret doing what I did. And they've been very understanding, and they just happy that I'm starting to become happy again. They're happy that their mother's happy again, and they're very well taken care of. Outside of the relationship with me and their mother's a great mother. I can still say that. And she's doing the best job. My kids are very well taken care of. They're happy. They understand it way too much, and they're definitely taken care of.
It's all that matters, man. I know that's why we do all this crap anyway.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. My daughter ended up basically saving me, even though I came out here at a young age. I was 19, 20 years old when I came out here. I didn't really start taking anything seriously until she came 5 years ago. It's the reason why I got my Tankerman ticket, reason why I'm moving up to the wheelhouse and becoming as passionate as I am and taking my job seriously at such a young age was because of her.
Glad to hear it, man. Anything else you want to touch on before we call this one?
If just for everybody, if you're feeling down, look, man, you understand. Most of us will listen to you. You just got to reach out. I know I don't know people, even if I don't like you. If you tell me, hey, man, you got a second, I need to vent. I got some stuff going on. I will sit there and listen to you. I will, and I guarantee you, somebody on the boat will sit there and listen to you and help you work it all out and let you vent. Don't hold it all in. If you got to wait till you're off watch to do it, wait till you're off watch, but don't hold it in because it bowls over. And we don't want to see another one of y'all take y'all's lives because it's not worth it. Somebody out there loves you, and it's not somebody wants to see you again. I know none of us want to lose a brother out here.
Thank you, Zach. I think that's as good a place to stop as any, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, my brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. We'll be in touch.
This has been a production of Where You At Studios, LLC.